Good. My name is Andida Bouma. I'm from the Netherlands. My background in sports is in the artistic swimming sport. I've been a participant and a long-term judge in that sport. I still am. So I'm still active on the pool deck. But I've also been on the board of the Dutch Swimming Federation for 12 years in the past, among others as serving as their treasurer. I think I was the first female treasurer at the time. I've been on the financial committee of our National Olympic Committee. And since February of 22, I'm a member of the LEN Bureau. LEN is European Aquatics Federation. So it combines all the federations of aquatics in Europe. And I've served as their first female general secretary, and now I've moved on to be their first female treasurer. So we started in February 22, and our term, because it's a midterm election, runs to 2024. And then there will be a new bureau elected, and potentially we hope for more women to be on that board. I think governance is mainly the function of oversight over sport. So it's not directly involved in the execution of the competitions or the trainings, but the oversight of basically managing the sports organization. The most important elements are in good governance in sport are, like everywhere in any organization, transparency, integrity, democracy, being accountable, being able to control, having controls in place over what is happening. And then factors that are now coming up, like diversity and inclusion, as well as ESG, so economically and environmental friendly methodologies. I don't think that is very different in sport than in other organizations. Well, they are definitely evolving, and I think in some areas they are evolving very rapidly. That is in some areas, like where I mentioned diversity and inclusion, as it's going quite fast, or there is a lot of things happening, except for the results are not really there yet. There is still a lot of work to be done. Also, I think in the areas, more the general areas like transparency, integrity codes, having more democracy and control, fair elections, the more integrity about manipulation. There is a lot happening, and a lot of organizations are working towards better governance. But also there is still a lot of work to be done. So it's not that I think the sports industry can say that their governance overall is at a good level. I think we still need to work quite hard to get it to a level that is first acceptable, and then good, and then outstanding. I think governance is critical to any organization. Good governance is critical to any organization. Why is it particularly important in sports, or why is it maybe hard in sports? It is generally that a lot of sport is at a managed by volunteers. It is at a volunteer level. Now, clearly there is professional sports organizations as well. They should have, let's say, an easier task in being well governed, but for volunteer organizations, this is generally pretty hard. This is what is happening in LEN, but also in like the Dutch Federation, right? The boards of those federations are generally people that do it as a non-paid job, as a volunteer job. While they are generally capable, they are not always able to spend, let's say, this sufficient amount of time in getting there, or managing or moving around sufficiently to get people to do what is necessary. So this makes it critical in sports to make sure that the governance is structured in such a way that volunteers can also work in that organization. Then I think sports is all about fair play. So it's really important that also the governance is fair, right? That people that govern these sports organizations play fair as well, and that it's clear that they play fair. The third reason I think is that generally in sports organizations, particularly in the, let's say, amateur field, where there's a lot of young people involved. And often there is people in positions of power that train these people or that are governing these people. So it's very important that there is a good framework in which the positions of those young people or people that are, let's say, in a position where they are being governed, have a good structure around them to protect them. I think the main obstacle is resources for me. That is both money, but also people. So you need to get the right people on the bus, if I speak in that terminology, right? And it needs to be a fair representation of the society you represent, right? So of the people that you govern, basically. And there, we are not there. So you see a lot of, let's say, mostly older men in positions of governance, in governing positions, while sports is being played by all ages, all nationalities, and we need a fair representation. So that, I think, is an important obstacle at this moment. That also brings about that there is quite a bit of resistance probably to change. People are in positions that they enjoy, that they have some benefits for them, and they're not always easy for them to give up. So if you want to bring about change and you want to bring the right people on the bus, that also means that some people have to step up or step out of the bus, maybe. And I think another obstacle is that because it's generally in an international playing field, there are cultural differences of people that have really different priorities, maybe, or come from different backgrounds, which is clearly also in aquatics. We have different federations, some where aquatics is very well developed and also where sports governance is very well developed, but others where, you know, it's pretty limited. There is maybe a few pools in the country. There is not that many people that there is serve in the federation. Maybe they have only one employee. So there is a very different level, let's say, and background of where our members, for example, are coming from. So it's also not so easy to align them all towards a common goal of good governance. I think some of our risks are also related to these cultural differences and the fact that people look at it in a different way. So you have a risk of losing support from the people you are actually governing, right? You are representing. So you need to make sure that you implement good governance, but that you do it with the people that you are actually governing. So we need to have a process in place where they are involved where they are informed, but also involved. So that I think is something how you can try and manage that risk. But that also means that this more democratic process, or the process of involving people, it can be quite slow, right? Before you get people bought into your program of changing certain governing rules or bringing about change, it can take time. So it is not always easy to bring about change in the period that you need to that you have. So you need to work hard to get it done, let's say. Another factor is that there is, we talked about volunteers earlier, right? And but clearly there is lots of organizations that have professionals that can execute a lot of the things, that the strategy that is being formulated. There will be a split, but that also brings a risk that actually also the strategy, let's say, formation, right? The formulation is now done by the professionals. So actually the people who are, let's say, the volunteer side, the people that actually are governing the sports in the different federations lose a little bit of their influence. So you get a disparity, if you want, between the larger body and the people that are doing the execution, let's say, in the fields. But this is, I think, the structure of the organization should make sure that there is a control over the professional organization, and that there is like a board or let's say a body that actually is controlling what is happening at in regular intervals. And maybe to add, this is because there are risks, but there are also rewards. So I think it's very important that we do not, let's say, get put off by the fact that things are maybe slow or they don't always go as quickly as we want. And we don't always achieve immediately what we want. Like we are now going to try and aim for a more gender equal board, right, in the next round, which is clearly going to be hard. But it's also, I think, the reward is that you do get a team spirit, and that you do get an organization where people feel that they belong to, or that they are part of, and that they are being listened to. So I think that is one of the big rewards also of good governance.